PK here, and welcome to PK versus the World. This is my series 12 games a year, the series where I only buy 12 games with my own money for all of 2018, which means people can still give me games and whatnot. I just can't buy it with my own money. So anyways, today I'm here to talk about Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for the Switch. I actually have this on the Wii U, and what's interesting is I actually did a review of this game over a year ago, but here's the thing. I never posted the review because I kind of abandoned reviews and the concept of reviews, because my problem with reviews is I still watch them, still love them. I think there's a lot of great reviewers out there, but the thing about reviews is sometimes they don't necessarily hold up. So I thought it's just kind of a fun thing. Let's look at my original review of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, and then we'll talk about the Switch version later on. So let's come take a look at the old Breath of the Wild review for the Wii U that you actually see in the intro of every PK versus the World video. Believe it or not, nobody's probably ever asked what the hell that's from, and that's what that's from. So anyways, let's go check it out. Today I'm here to review Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for the Wii U. I've been a huge fan of the Zelda series since, when I was a young kid playing Link's Awakening or Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time? Ocarina of Time? What do you want to call it? OOT, as the kids like to call it. This is the first Zelda game I've ever actually reviewed on my channel, and I think it's perfect for my 100th video. I'm a little bit all over the place here because I've been writing this script basically ever since it came out. And it's like we keep finding out new information about this game, so there's a lot going on here, so just bear with me here. Obviously I'm reviewing the Wii U version, but I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Switch version as well, even though I personally don't own a Switch and I haven't played that, but I've watched other people play it in videos, so we'll talk, just kind of lightly touch on that and whatnot. So here we go. I don't know why for the life of me I wanted to even talk about the Switch version. I mean, I've never played it, so I don't own it. I mean, yeah, there's similarities, they're pretty much the same, but that was stupid. There's not a lot of differences between the Wii U and the Switch version. The Wii U version is in 720p, whereas the Switch version docked is 900p, but when it's undocked it's 720p. What I failed to mention is that the Wii U version on the gamepad is at like 480p, so don't know why I didn't mention that. There's not a lot of differences in loading time either. The Switch version, when you load from the beginning of the game to start playing it, is a little faster. The Wii U version is slightly faster for in-game loading times though, so that's something kind of like barely worth mentioning. I don't even know why I mentioned this for the life of me, honestly. This could have changed since the time that I actually made this video. I mean, I was basing this on the fact that I had watched some YouTubers do a compare and contrast. And honestly, I feel like that really should not have been in the review, because it's not something I knew for certain, because again, I don't have the Switch version. It's not something I know firsthand. Not only that, that could have changed since the last time I've actually played either one, because Nintendo's always doing updates to this, so I don't even know why I even put that in there to begin with. What a waste of time. The Wii U version's physical copy requires a mandatory 3 gigs of installation space required. When I did it, it took maybe 15 minutes tops. And what's funny is the Switch version actually only has like less than a gig of installation space, so the Switch actually wins on this one, which is something I didn't know, of course, because I didn't have a Switch. Well, I got no complaints from me. One of the gripes I have with the Wii U version of this game is that it doesn't have the dual screen gamepad compatibility that Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD have. And the problem with that is most of the Switch owners never knew otherwise, honestly, so I don't even know why I brought it up. It doesn't even matter, because the majority of people didn't play those games. Otherwise, there would have been a lot more Wii U's sold, so another kind of pointless comment, really, on my part on this one. In some interviews with Breath of the Wild director Hidemaru Fubiyashi, I think that's how you say his name, he talked about some of the changes he made in the Switch port of Breath of the Wild. When it was originally just for the Wii U, we had touch controls. Well, we had to remove them. Although it was not very flashy or exciting work, it was still time-consuming and difficult. Seriously? You're reading stuff now? In Breath of the Wild, one of Link's main tools is the Sheikah Slate. And the thing about the Sheikah Slate, it looks kind of like a Wii U gamepad, honestly, except a little smaller. Like a Switch, maybe? I don't know. Switch is kind of smaller than a Wii U. One of the original ideas with the Sheikah Slate is that this game would be super connected to the Wii U gamepad. And when they ported it to the Switch, they were like, oh crap, we got to change stuff. We felt the way the Sheikah Slate is represented in the game and how we use the gamepad in real life synced really well. So when we had to remove it, I did feel like, oh, it's too bad we had to do that. And because it was so tied into the scenario, we did have to go back and redesign and rethink the scenario, which was a little bit of hard work. When we started testing it out and trying different configurations, we realized that it actually works better if you can keep your focus on the TV screen, rather than going back and forth between the second screen and the TV, he explained. As we started to flesh this out, it really turned out that this was the best way to enjoy the game. As a Wii U owner, I'm kind of disappointed that they decided to chicane all these cool ideas, but as a Zelda fan, I totally understand why they did this. It was important to get as many people to be able to play this game as possible, and I feel at the end of the day it was the right choice. Though it still would have been really cool if they had kept that in the Wii U version, especially for us loyal Wii U owners who actually bought the Wii U with the idea that we would get to play this Zelda game, and that people who didn't have a Wii U would not be able to at some point in time before, obviously everyone found out it was going to be ported to the Switch. But this isn't the first time Nintendo's done this. They did this with Twilight Princess with the GameCube and Wii ports, so this is not a surprise really. And again, at the end of the day, I'm happy that more people are playing Zelda because of this. I did pre-order the GameCube version of Twilight Princess back in the day. Good times. At least this time they released them both together. If A Link Between Worlds is a spiritual sequel to A Link to the Past, then this game is very much a spiritual sequel to the original Legend of Zelda. It's even more open world than the original Zelda. This is not a game where you blatantly see neon signs that tell you where to go and what to do. This is one of those games where you do whatever the F you want. I'm not kidding. You do whatever the F you want. If you want to do this shrine or that shrine, if you want to do just mess around and go hunting the whole game, you can do that. You have freedom. Especially once you leave the Great Plateau, you have absolute freedom. This game is about freedom. This game's very American because it's about freedom. Yeah, I think they get it. It's about freedom. And I tell you what, from me personally, I just enjoy effing around. It's so much fun. I mean, I still go to the shrines and I'm doing the shrines. We'll talk more about the shrines later on, but there's so much to do in this game. It's massive. It is a massive game. And I know some of you guys, and I used to be like that too, in fact, I was all about the linear Zelda lifestyle. I like Twilight Princess because it's so linear, and it's like I just want to go through the story and get through it sometimes. I mean, there's games I play that I feel that way about. This really is not one of those games, and it's kind of made me think about what it is I like in a Zelda game. But if you want to, you can just go straight and fight Ganon and beat him, honestly. You don't have to do the four main dungeons or all the shrines. You can just go straight and fight Ganon. Speedrunners have been doing this in like an hour or something, I guess, because of course you'd have to complete the first 4 shrines to eventually get the paraglider so you can actually get down there. I've heard some people compare it to World of Warcraft, actually, which I thought was really weird. I totally disagree with that. I mean, people are like, it's all been done before. This is like World of Warcraft. But it's like, no, it's not. You don't have to pay an online subscription. You buy the game and you play it. It's more about individual experience than it is, forming teams and things like that. And, it's different. I would say this game is like, in a lot of ways, is like a couch co-op in the sense that we're watching other people play Zelda on YouTube and we're learning stuff from their experiences. We're like, oh my gosh, you found this, or how did you do that? There's a lot of that going on, and it's like, and people keep finding new stuff. That was one thing. I feel like the reviews that first initially came out of this game probably don't really do it justice, just because we're still finding stuff. This review probably does not do this game justice because we're still continuing to find things. And then they're going to add DLC as well, which is something else I'll talk about later in this review. And that's the whole point, is that even back then, I knew this review was going to become irrelevant because we're finding out new stuff. And, updates get done. Come on. There's a ton of resource management involved in it. I mean, when it comes to your food, your weapons, the kind of clothes you wear, make a difference in this game as far as how you're playing it. And that sounds kind of overwhelming at first, but after a while you're just like, oh, this is not that bad at all, honestly. Some people have complained about, oh, it rains too much in Legend of Zelda, which can be kind of annoying because let's say you're climbing a mountain and you won't be able to climb that mountain because you don't have enough stamina or you can't get up there. And the people who say that it rains too much in Legend of Zelda, is this your first open world game? There's lots of open world games where it rains. Maybe you need to go outside. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, but I really don't think it rains too much. I really don't. I know that was kind of random. Don't tell me what to do. But on to talk more about like the foraging and cooking and hunting. I mean, what's cool about this game is you can find all kinds of like food resources and stuff. You can find apple trees. And the thing is, you can cook these things. And not only that, you can kill animals. You can kill wild boars. You can kill billy goats. All kinds of strange animals that, are all around this area. This just has such a large landscape of beautiful animals that are all over the place waiting to be hunted, birds, that kind of thing. And you can cook these foods. And you can cook these foods in a variety of ways. And you can add, like, let's say you have, like, I don't know, you shot some kind of bird down. Well, you can add, other, like, mushrooms you've gathered and put them in there, and mix it up and create some kind of food that actually gives you more power than you would get if you just straight up ate the food. You can also, let's say you were shooting bats at night or something, you can use that to create elixirs and things like that. But you got to be careful, because if you put too many things in, you end up creating some kind of dubious food, which doesn't give you as much power, and it's kind of, tastes gross. So that's kind of really cool. The cooking aspect of it, at first I was kind of like, this is kind of stupid, but the more I figured out how to do it and got into it, I'm like, oh, this is awesome, I love it. Yes, the days of just finding hearts in the grass are over. But you can still find fairies outside, which is kind of weird, but here and there. One of the biggest complaints that I've seen from a lot of people is the weapon system. The weapons in this game are breakable. In fact, the very first weapon I got in this game was a tree branch, and the first thing I did was I broke it. I was fighting one of the bad guys. I love this aspect of the game. Because it's funny, because all of a sudden you're fighting a boss or whatever, and all of a sudden your weapon breaks, and let's say you're out of weapons. Then all of a sudden, this game has stopped being a combat hack and slash and has become a survival horror game where you're running away. I love that aspect of it. It reminds me of like Resident Evil, where you have a limited amount of bullets. Oh, that's a fair point. I find myself like yelling at the screen, "Run, dummy, run!" I don't know why people are getting so excited about this, the whole breakable weapon concept either. I mean, it's not the first game to do this. Silent Hill Origins had it. Fallout 3 had breakable weapons. Heck, you even look at the classic games like Streets of Rage and Double Dragon. They had weapons that didn't last forever kind of thing going on. It's not a new concept by any means, but it's a new concept for Zelda. It's not even totally 100% true that all the weapons are breakable, because one weapon that isn't breakable is the Master Sword. There's a couple other weapons as well that can be reforged, such as in the Zora's Domain, there's a couple of tridents, I guess, that can be reforged as well, so that's something to note. So don't be scared off by the idea that, oh, all the weapons are breakable, this is going to be miserable throughout the whole game, because eventually you will get an unbreakable weapon. But you know what, honestly, I love trying out the different weapons. And what's cool is if you have a broken weapon, you can just throw it at somebody, it's just awesome. There's a lot of cool aspects to the combat. You're only as good as the strategy you use when you fight in combat in this game, and that's really cool. Not just, oh, we'll cut one or two shots and the guy just goes down. That's not always how it happens. And the farther you get into an area, the more bad and tough the villains become, which isn't a bad thing either, because it gives you kind of some grounding about, okay, maybe I shouldn't go over this way. Maybe I should go over here and try to go through the shrines and get my heart rate up, or stamina up, so I can really take on these guys and get to these next levels. There's so many different ways to beat a bad guy, which is really awesome about this game. It's just so open-ended. It's probably too open-ended sometimes for its own good, but I don't mind it. Also, another way you can acquire weapons is through amiibos. Also, what is kind of interesting too is you can actually use the Wolf Link amiibo, and the Wolf Link will actually appear in the game, and he will play alongside you, and he'll actually fight for you until he dies. And I guess he has a mandatory like 3 hearts, unless you had a previous save file from Zelda Twilight Princess on the Wii U. So this might actually give you more incentive to get a Wii U. It really doesn't give you more
incentive to get a Wii U.
Or this might actually give you more incentive to keep your Wii U if you've already played Twilight Princess, and you'll have those more hearts and whatnot, I guess. And this brings me to another point about the amiibos.
Oh god, it's the amiibo rant incoming or whatever. I don't even know what the price of Zelda amiibos are anymore. I think they have gone down since then, this rant that I did. So bear with me here.
I've been going on eBay a little bit here and on the Amazon and whatnot, and all of a sudden the Link and Zelda amiibos, and all of a sudden the Zelda amiibos have just skyrocketed in price. I remember you used to be able to get those for like $9-10 easily, a lot of them. Some of them maybe you would get it at retail price tops, but now they're just going for double that because these amiibos have become functional in the game. Like you can get extra bow and arrows, you can get special weapons, like if you have the Ganondorf one from Smash Brothers or something. It's crazy. And on one hand, I think it's great because Nintendo has actually come up with a functional way of using the amiibos in Legend of Zelda that people actually want to buy the amiibos, and that's cool. That's awesome. The problem is, now we got all this price gouging going on. Nintendo, and they're hyping up these amiibos now, and now people are scalping them like crazy. This is typical Nintendo supply shortage crap, and I don't really care for it in that aspect. But I think it's cool that they found a functioning reason to buy amiibos. I know people who never bought amiibos and all of a sudden now, oh, I'm gonna buy some Zelda amiibos, awesome. So they can play this, and I understand that, that's awesome. But I'm not gonna be spending 40 bucks on an amiibo. It's just not gonna happen. I won't do it. What's also kind of interesting too is, let's say you have another amiibo, not even from the Zelda game, you can actually use that as well. Like I could put down my Yoshi amiibo or something, and it'll give me like food and stuff like that, or Mario one or whatever. So that's something to take in consideration. So if you have a huge supply of amiibos, you can use each amiibo once a day. So that's pretty cool. So definitely check that out. Now some people might ask me, should we believe the hype?
Yeah, we totally should believe the hype.
This game is getting a lot of praise. It's getting a lot of high praises. And it's a huge game. I mean, it makes Twilight Princess look small, very small and minuscule in comparison. I would say personally, I think this is a genre-defining game. This game is defining in the sense that the original Legend of Zelda was defining. It's just in the sense that Shenmue or the GTA 3, or Skyrim, it's in that league, honestly, of defining open world games.
It's a Switch defining game, but is it a genre defining game? No, it's not. It's got a lot of really cool stuff about it, and some aspects that are more unique to the Zelda franchise. But is it a genre defining game? No, I don't really think it's a genre defining game at all, honestly. I don't know what this PK was smoking though, but anyways, let's get back to the video.
Oh, another thing I want to talk about, I mentioned before, was the shrines and the dungeons. The shrines are basically like mini dungeons. They don't take a long time. You can get through one very quickly, and that personally is what I love about it. There's like, I guess, over 100 shrines or something in the game, and you can get through them really quickly. I'm talking, it should take you no more than 5-10 minutes tops to get through one of these. And that's great because, I'm one of those kind of people, it's like once I start a dungeon, I got to keep playing it through it until I get through it. Whereas a shrine, it's like if I just leave off, stay where I left off, it's no big deal. I can come back to it later on, and that is great. And that's what I like. This is a great improvement. I haven't tried any of the main dungeons yet, but I plan to at some point, of course. And I've heard those aren't even that long either. That's one thing I like about this game is it's so open-ended as far as what you can and can't. There's not much you can't do. Best way I could describe this game, it's very Henry David Thoreau-esque in the sense that this isn't a game about getting stuff. This is a game about exploration and just living deliberately. I mean, if you just want to sit around and ride a horse all day, you can do that. If you just want to sit around and shoot stuff, you can do that. If you want to just sit and engage in combat, if you just want to solve puzzles, you can do that. If you just want to just climb mountains all day, you can do that. There's just so little you can't do in this game. Even if you're someone like me who traditionally likes that linear Legend of Zelda lifestyle, I highly recommend checking out this game. It's just, you'll get a kick out of it, I promise you that. This is not like Twilight Princess. This is not like Skyward Sword, where those games got 10s for the pure sake that they're Zelda games. And maybe maybe that's not entirely true. Skyward Sword, that's definitely true, but it depends on the reviewer, of course.
I don't feel like I knew enough about Skyward Sword at the time to be talking about Skyward Sword. It's actually a game I just recently got, not even that long ago, on my Wii U. So, because it's digitally available for the Wii U, I had some gift cards, but here and there. Let's get back to the video.
Would I say this is the best Zelda game ever made? Absolutely.
Is this the best Zelda game of all the time? Not absolutely at all, actually. I think there's a lot of great Zelda games, but calling this one the best of all time, it's a really great game, and it's a really great Zelda game, but to me personally, it's not my best Zelda game of all time. That's just my opinion.
Is this the best game Nintendo's ever made? That's hard to say. Nintendo's made a lot of really good games. I wouldn't even know how to quantify something like that. Is this the game of the year? Well, this is just the beginning of the year, so I'm not going to make that kind of speculation. I can sit here and say, hey, this game was worth buying at retail price. And that's not something I say about every game, believe me. I've always wanted to review a Zelda game, and I'm very, very happy that I chose this as my very first Zelda review. Even though it's not a retro game, it will be at some point. So someday, somebody watching this will be a retro review. So that kind of works out. Scores. Bet you guys are wondering, what score am I going to give this? Am I going to give it the same score that Jim Sterling gave it?
I forgot about that whole Jim Sterling thing. That's really interesting. That's actually kind of partly why this review is kind of cool, in the sense that we can look back on that and think, oh yeah, I remember that whole Jim Sterling controversy and whatnot. I went into a lot of detail about what I thought about how people were treating him, so.
There was a lot of controversy recently about Jim Sterling giving this game a 7.0. I do not agree with Jim Sterling, but I will say this. Jim Sterling did not deserve to be DDoSed, and he did not deserve to have death threats over having an opinion about a piece of media. That is so beyond stupid. It's idiotic that somebody, gets those. I mean, he should have expected some kind of, fan backlash from this, because his opinion is so far from the norm and from the mainstream. And I don't know Jim Sterling that well. I don't know his work all that well. But I tell you right now, I get wanting to be critical of something. It's normal. You should want to be critical of things. You should want to question things. That's normal. But here's the thing. I think 7.0 is a good score. I play a game that got a 7.0. Heck, I play a game that got a 6. I really don't care. Ratings don't mean that much to me, as they mean to other people. But when you're that far from the norm and you got a lot of eyes on you, you should expect some kind of backlash. But he did not deserve the backlash that he got. People shouldn't get this upset about a piece of media. It's like, some people just need to get a life. It's ridiculous. To say that you love or like or whatever Zelda Breath of the Wild does not make you a Nintendo fanboy any more than saying you like Horizon Zero Dawn. That doesn't make you a Sony shill. You're allowed to have opinions. You should have opinions. Both of these games came out at the same time, so their fans might be divided, but then there's probably some people who like both games, and they should have the right to have that opinion too. It's a good game. I mean, no matter what you score. And here's another thing. Open world games aren't necessarily for everyone. People like that linear choice, and I get that. I like this game. And I'm going to tell you, and I've told you guys why I like this game. There are things about it that are really awesome. And I've also told you what I'm critical of. I'm critical of the whole Amiibo thing being overpriced DLC, which is what I think it is. So if you're looking for me to give this a score, go somewhere else. This is not IGN. I'm not doing the whole score thing anymore. I've done that in the past, and you know what? It's meaningless. At the end of the day, you guys want to probably know, do I recommend this game? Yes, I recommend this game, and it gets my highest recommendation. That's all the time I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and play what you like, and keep on gaming in the open world of Breath of the Wild, but mostly keep on gaming. Have a good one.
Okay, so that was my review of Breath of the Wild from over a year ago, when I was still doing the PK's retro reviews thing, and that's who I was. Yeah, so I had a lot of fun watching this old video, honestly, that I made a year ago, like I said, and never submitted it. And I'm really glad I didn't submit it, honestly, because this video doesn't hold up all that well. There are things about it that absolutely hold up. You know, some of the things I talked about in that video, but there's other things where it's kind of like, okay, your Wii U bias was shining quite well through, honestly. And but anyways, so what are my thoughts on Breath of the Wild? I've actually played quite a few hours of it already now on the Switch, and before that, I'd actually played 22 hours on the Wii U. So and that was, of course, over the years period. Well, recently, I had a USB drive that I had used for my Wii U for the longest time. Well, it crapped out on me, and there was no way to save any of my stuff. So I had to re-download all the games I had for the Wii U that I had digitally, and all the information and all the save files and stuff were gone. So basically, I had to start all over on Breath of the Wild regardless. So I'm really happy I got it for the Switch. In fact, interestingly enough, I got it at half-price books of all places, and it was $29.99 plus tax. I couldn't believe it, honestly. Because here's the thing, that game goes for about 40 to 45 bucks used, and I'm like, you know what? I'm probably not going to have another opportunity for a long time to get Zelda Breath of the Wild for 30 bucks. So I'm like, that's coming home with me. I'm getting that game. You know what I mean? So I was really, really happy to get this in my collection, and it's freaking fantastic. So I bet you guys are wondering, what are my thoughts? Now that I've played it on the Switch and the Wii U, which one do I prefer? It's early to tell, and who knows, maybe this comment will no longer be timeless at some point. It's a possibility. That's the thing about reviews and why I don't do reviews, is because I'm always changing my mind about things, because I'm always learning new things. So just to do a formal review seems silly to me, and always has for a long time now. But anyways, my thoughts are, if you own a Wii U, pick up Breath of the Wild. If you own a Switch, pick up Breath of the Wild. Now, if you own a Wii U and a Switch, pick up both if you can. But if you can't, get the Switch version, absolutely. One thing I'm actually finding is kind of interesting is I actually feel this feels more comfortable actually now than the Wii U gamepad did, because that's what I primarily used, was the Wii U gamepad. And I feel like, I don't know what it is, but having the minus button here, I feel like I just have a lot easier access to the inventory items than I expected to. And I kind of now agree with the director of Nintendo, is like, yeah, it took them a while to figure out the whole dual screen thing isn't necessarily as effective as only looking at one screen as opposed to looking at two screens. But yeah, actually, after playing the Switch long enough, he was totally right. I feel like Breath of the Wild was really optimized for the Switch controllers, even though it wasn't originally developed for them, but they definitely did a good job of doing that. And like I said before, it takes up less space on your hard drive to have a physical version of the game versus what it takes up on your hard drive on the Wii U by like over 2 gigs. So that's a huge plus. And honestly, the other thing too, one of my criticisms that I don't think I had in the video, but originally was that, what if your Switch dies on you and you can't transfer it over to another Switch? Well, of course, this comment might be out of date soon. You never know. But Nintendo, of course, is having their online service launched in September. And there's talk that there's going to be cloud save states, that you could do potentially if you're on the online service. So I think that would solve that problem, honestly, because both systems have this issue, obviously, that there's a potential you could lose all your save files and information if something goes wrong. So I think, yeah, there's a lot to be said about... What can I say? Breath of the Wild is amazing. Is it the best Zelda game of all time? No, personally, my personal favorite is Link's Awakening. It's just something, I don't know if it's the childhood nostalgia feels in me or what, but that's my personal favorite. And but this is up there. This is up there very, very high. This is a great Zelda game. I cannot say enough about it. And if you have a Wii U or a Switch, you should have this in your collection, is my personal thoughts. But what do you guys think? Do you guys have Breath of the Wild? Do you not have it and want to get Breath of the Wild? What's your favorite part about Breath of the Wild? Comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching, and keep on gaming.